nalipa tax na hata siwezi afford kupanda taxi. Kwa banki sina kakitu, siwezi afford hata shati. Maji nanywa ya kanjo yako ya chupa za mapambo. Nalipia mtoto wako elimu ya bure ya juu. Unanipa ya bure lakini ya utu. Oh no. So nitapata wapi majibu ya maswali? Mahindi lienda wapi? Pia shilingi ya shule za msingi. Paulo mtume, mbona jela usimtume? Lazima abuniwe tume. Lazima abuniwe tume. Mapenzi ndizo hali mabasa tulificha kwa kabati. Kazi kwa vijana, pesa kwa wazee. Tulimangamanga mpaka za maded aise. Lazima abuniwe tume. Lazima abuniwe tume. Oh. Sheria. Oh. Sheria. Sheria. Fuata. Sheria. Sheria. Oh, oh. Sheria. Yeah, yeah. Fuata. Sheria. 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 Oh, oh. Fuata. Sheria. Sheria. Pia wewe mwananchi, tabia zako ziko chini. Unapenda kulipa hongo na kutumia njia za uongo. Una mipango na hata watoto wa kando. Haujui hata majina yao. Kura yako uliuza maini figo, ukakulia hadi dini. Kisha wasema tukuthamini, na wewe hapo hauaminiki. Na wewe hapo haupangiki.
Wapi kidero when you need to slap somebody? Complain ufisadi, kwani ulidhani t-shirt 50 bob leso siku ya campaign ilikuwa free? Ni 5 year loan investment, utalipa kingi ya parliament. We are one, amani we are one. Na utumishi kwa wote, utu missing CCTV we were watching. Pressure insecurity na job opportunity ni kama mti ya kibiriti. Side moja heavy, usiniambie Kenya kuna umaskini, kwani hizi fat fingers zinaibia nane? Maskando inatuletea wa survival. Media define leadership, na sura ukiaka front page na improve readership. Ambia wase wa Twitter wa hashtag hii ama hash reality doesn't make a good TT. Commission of inquiry wanakula commission bila kutupa ukweli. Ni kubaya baka kukiwa kuzuri, unashindwa nini mbaya? Machozi ya perpetrator ineza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. After all is said and done, all will be said, nothing will be done. You're not my tribe, but you're my blood type. Lakini It doesn't have to take tragedy to know that.
Sheria.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite voice on radio, on your favorite show on radio, on your favorite radio station, Power Radio, right here with me, Mr. James WaNjeri. And let me tell you, my goodness, am I happy to be back? Was on a sort of a long break, but here we are back with Flozy in the studio, and it's so beautiful to be here. It's a beautiful Thursday. Of course, it's been raining in Nairobi. But today, the skies look a bit blue, but it's getting a bit cold. So please take care of yourself. There's, of course, a viral flu going round. And a few people you've met, wamenyorosha na hiyo kitu vibaya sana. But let's start on a good note. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a hot conversation lined up for us as we talk about things mental health. And you know, mental health affects everybody. We're going to be looking at what the courts have said about mental health, especially in the workplace. Did you know that you almost spend a third of your life in the workplace? And did you also know that you also sleep for at least a third of your life? Hey, is it a coincidence? You tell me. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some music. And of course, our feature artist of the evening, as you start your trip, I don't know whether you're still in the office, you're at home, maybe working from home, or maybe you are in your car heading home, or you're in that mart, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us and keeping it here with us. Today's feature artist is Nairobi Horns Project, NHP. Some fantastic musicians, and all of them blow an instrument. All right. So if you've never heard of the Nairobi Horns Project, you're going to be playing 5 of their songs. And of course, I'd like to know which of these songs are your favorite. Which songs do you like the most? But of course, ladies and gentlemen, how have you been? I'm really curious. How have you been? I hope you're doing well. I know times can be tough and things can be hard, but I hope you're just in there keeping strong. And if you need, a pick-me-up, hey, you know what? I'll give you a song. Just let us know in the chat section which song you'd like to listen to, or you can let us know on our socials at Power Radio, at James K. WaNjeri. Which song do you want to listen to? Which song will pick you up? And remember, it's all Kenyan all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nairobi Horns Project. This is their very first song. Let's go.
Power Radio. Power up.
Yes. My goodness. You know what? That's a way to start a show, man. That's a way to start a show. That's Nairobi Horns Project. That's song number 1. Let's get song number 2 because we are cruising nicely. This is the way to start it. Let's go.
Your kind of music, all day, all night, right here on your only station, Power Radio.
Yes. Beautiful. That's Furaha by Nairobi Horns Project, who, if you don't know about, you better go check them out online. Remember, we always say, when we play a feature artist, please look for them online, give them that like, give them that follow, and buy their merch. And as well, you can go for all their shows and anything that pertains to those musicians. This is Nairobi Horns Project with Furaha, such a beautiful song. And you know what? Thursday is a perfect day to start it on a jazz note, because, you know, kesho ni Friday. I think that's all I know. Tutatafuta hiyo ngoma. Tuesday ni maandamano. That's for sure. Anyway, here is song number 3 by Nairobi Horns Project. They are featured artists of the show. And of course, today we are looking at mental health in the workplace. How should employers deal with mental health? How do you discipline cases of mental health? How do you terminate someone where mental health is involved? But that's for later. For now, let's get some music. Let's go.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Hey, my God. You know what? If this is your first time on Sheria Dive, karibu sana manze. You know, as we say, you come for the jazz and you stay for the law. That's what you're about. That's Nairobi Horns Project with Mr. Masekela, which was actually a tribute to Hugh Masekela. You remember Hugh Masekela was a big jazz artist from South Africa, and he passed away a few years ago. And Nairobi Horns Project decided to do this song in his honor. Woo! Guys, ni kwenda tunaenda. Fantastic. Now let's get song number 4. Remember, if this is your first time here, karibu sana to Sheria Dive right here on Power Radio. Power Radio is a station where we talk about the things that affect you, the things that are relevant to you, and the things that help you in your decision making. And of course, our music is all Kenyan, all the time. So here is number 4 by Nairobi Horns Project. Let's go. Yes. Wait. Let me tell you, if you're just discovering Nairobi Horns project, welcome to the party. And we've decided now by this show, you come for the jazz, you stay for the law. You're going to be getting to the law shortly. But of course, this is the final song by Nairobi Horns Project, a fantastic band here in Nairobi that plays jazz. And after this last song, I'm going to be telling you who makes up Nairobi Horns Project and how you can follow each and every one of these gentlemen, these 4 gentlemen. And of course, they have a percussionist who plays with them as well, who's a female. So you want to find out about this after this next song. And then we can get on our train to law school. Let's go.
Music all day, all night, right here on your only station, Power Radio.
gorgeous. Woo. I think that song is aptly titled Mola. And my goodness, I could feel myself getting closer to heaven just listening to that. Woo! That is Nairobi Horns Project with Mola. Now, who is Nairobi Horns Project? Nairobi Horns Project is a group of, the main group is made up of 3 gentlemen who play the horns. You have McKinley Mutsembi, who plays the trumpet. And the other day, McKinley was played the trumpet for 24 hours. Yeah, can you believe it? And it's on YouTube. So if you'd like to see that, it actually happened. And I think he was breaking a record, which I believe he did. Then, of course, the second is my very good friend Rabbi Mokua on the saxophone. And Rabbi on the sax, oh my goodness. Just check him out on Instagram and listen to the sax. That guy, Rabbi, is a wizard on the sax. And of course, we have Victor Kinama on the trombone, Mr. Trombone himself. Of course, we also have a rhythm section, which, of course, when you listen to the music, you can hear someone is playing keys. There's a drummer and all that. So in the rhythm section, they have Steve Mwanzia, who's their main keys player, Amani Baya on drums, a legend, Jack Muguna as well on the guitar, fantastic guy, Moise Basinza on the bars, on the bass, and Kasiva Mutua is the only lady in this ensemble who plays the percussion. And of course, please look for all these people online on the socials, follow them, give them the support they need. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about mental health in the workplace. And recently there was a case that came out of the Employment and Labor Relations Court that perhaps can guide us and can guide you and I on what does a court consider when talking about how employers should treat employees who are going through mental health challenges. And of course, today we know the reality that indeed mental health challenges are a real thing, and no one is immune from having mental health challenges. And mental health issues can it can be seen in various ways. Sometimes it's behavioral, sometimes it could be seen in action, sometimes it could be seen in withdrawal. Sometimes it could even be about the ability of the person to concentrate. And of course, you know that at the very worst end of that spectrum is the fact that many people actually take their lives on the basis of mental health issues or because they're undergoing mental challenges. And I remember growing up, mental health issues we used to call him the local madman. And I apologize for that language, but I'm just telling you what we used to call him, okay? Now we are better, okay? But there used to be the guy who would just walk around picking papers and scraps. And we used to say, that guy is mad. He's not okay. That's the word that we'd use. But the reality is that mental health issues do not necessarily have to manifest in that form. That, you're out there, you cannot, you're picking up papers, you're talking to yourself. I think that's a very extreme end of it. But the reality is that the person seated next to you now, if you're in that matatu, or the person seated next to you in the office, even in church when you're seated down, the person who's there next to you, even the person you are in a relationship with, they could be undergoing mental health challenges. And some of the most popular mental health issues you have is like depression, for instance. And depression can be mild all the way to clinical depression, where now the person actually needs medication, to be able to survive. And these mental health challenges are even made worse by prevailing conditions, for instance, in the country. Like, for example, we've had a lot of doctors taking their own lives. And you can imagine the challenge of being a doctor in Kenya, that you go to school for about 6 years, right? Then you have to be sent on internship, because without that internship, you cannot graduate to become a doctor. But then it takes the government 2 years to post you as an intern. So imagine 6 years of school and then you stay at home for 2 years waiting to be posted as an intern. Then when you go for internship, the government does not want to pay you, but you're ending up working 72-hour shifts. Then after you finish, there's no guarantee for a job. You then have to start tamarking and looking for a job. You're a whole doctor in a country where all the statistics show that the ratio of doctors to patients in Kenya, or the ratio of doctors to the population, it's so low. Like, we're doing really, really badly. That is a mental space that a lot of people find themselves in. And so it could be internal things, it could be external things. One of the things that I'm grateful for is that I think now, as we have gotten more educated and more enlightened, we've actually realized that mental health issues is not madness. And of course, you remember that growing up, we are Africans and we are Kenyans, you know, and when things cannot be explained, what do we say? Amerogwa, right? It must be witchcraft. Hey, this person is just behaving. No, that is witchcraft. And we want to run in that direction. Because unfortunately, as society, most times we like to just bury our heads in the sand instead of actually confronting the issue as it is and the issue as it's happening. But mental health issues are real matters. Mental health challenges are real. Mental health is a real thing and it's affecting people of all ages. There's a time people would think that mental health is only something that, we are dealing with when, it's young people. But now, even old people you'd never have expected to have these challenges. And now, even with more enlightenment and education, you start realizing, oh, by the way, that's the reason why so-and-so behaves in this manner. And of course, many people who are dealing with mental health challenges, oftentimes will have to find coping mechanisms or ways to deal with it. It affects even the quality of the relationships you can have with people. That you'll find... there are people who they just start getting attached and they ghost you completely because there's an underlying trauma that informs that relationship. So anyway, when you talk about mental health, it's such a wide spectrum because it affects everything: family, work, school, everything. But today, we're going to be talking about it in the context of the work environment, in the context of employment. Now remember, employment is a protected relationship. It's a protected relationship under the law, under the Constitution of Kenya. Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya is very clear that every individual who is in the workplace, they have a right to fair labor. They have a right to be treated fairly, okay? That the conditions of work, how they're treated at work, how they're dealt with at work, it must be done fairly and in a manner that is within the law and within the Constitution. And this is a case that went before the court. And in this matter, AWW sued as the mother of GWW. And of course, when it comes to mental health issues, the court does not report the person's full names because these are people who need to be, they need the privacy and their privacy needs to be protected. And the court does this. Now, GWW was an employee of the Central Bank of Kenya. And being an employee of the Central Bank of Kenya, her mother sued her employer, Central Bank of Kenya, stating that when they terminated her, they disregarded her documented mental health condition, okay? Now, she had been employed as part of the CBK's subordinate staff in 2009, but she then developed mental health issues, including bipolar mood disorder and schizoaffective disorder. And we're going to be looking at what this means. This happened in 2018. These conditions impaired her executive functions and were known to her employer, okay? Now, despite the employer knowing that the employee had this mental illness, they failed to provide comprehensive medical care, as is a requirement under the Mental Health Act. Instead, they subjected her to a disciplinary process, purporting to consider her responses while disregarding her impaired capacity to defend herself. It's like they treated her like she did not have these mental health challenges. Now, that disciplinary action eventually ended in her termination, which, according to her mother who was suing on her behalf, it had been done in a discriminatory, unfair manner, and it had actually been actuated by malice, all right? And the idea basically here was that by taking the action that they took against an employee who had mental health challenges, then they had violated her right to non-discrimination under the Constitution of Kenya and also the international labor standards, okay? The employer, according to the claimant in this case, and of course, we've done this enough times on this show, so the claimant is a person who takes the case to court, the respondent is a person who's been taken to court. In this case, the claimant accused the employer of failing to accommodate her mental disability as required by the law and treated her as though she was fully capable of participating in the disciplinary process. Now, they state, okay, according to her mother, she states that the employee was still able to perform her cleaning duties despite her condition, and that her termination had caused undue hardship to her and to her 3 children. And of course, they went to court seeking damages for wrongful termination, damages for discrimination against a person suffering from mental disability, and they also wanted her restituted to employment with full benefits. All right? Now, remember, in this case for this employee, they had a documented case, all right, of clinical depression and schizoaffective disorder. They also had bipolar disorder, all right? Now, the question before court was, should the employer have taken this lady through the disciplinary process in her condition, or should they have taken certain special steps? When we come back, we're going to be talking about what the bank said in their response. What did they say in their response? And what did the court consider when looking at this case? It's an exciting case. When we get some music, let's get some music. And when we come back, we continue talking about this. And I hope that you have your pen and paper, because this is information that you're going to need. Maybe not just for yourself, but for the people around you. Let's go.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
That is Mr. Jacob Asio. Hata unasikia tumenyamaza hapa kwa studio manze because hey, how do you do that, man? Jacob Asio right there. And of course we say you come for the judge, you stay for the law. And how matters law. Remember we're talking about the case of an employee of the Central Bank of Kenya who had been terminated, and her case in court, which had been filed through her mother, because remember, if you are a mental health patient, you do not have capacity to file a case on your own, right? So we do it through what we call the next friend. In this case, her mother. Now, according to the bank said, number one, they denied that the employee had been unlawfully terminated, discriminated against, and that they had failed to provide her with care and respect. Now, they acknowledged as well that the employee had sustained injuries from a motorcycle accident in 2019 and that her medical condition was known to them since 2018. However, the employer said that it facilitated her medical care and supported her during her treatment. Okay. Now, they also deny the allegation that they failed to commit her to a medical facility. And according to them, as an employer, they said the primary responsibility rested with her next friend, in this case, her family. They also stated that with regards to the disciplinary hearing, the employee was lucid enough. And basically, lucid means that you have control of your faculties. Okay. You are okay. And that she was aware of the disciplinary proceedings initiated against her. And the reason for the disciplinary proceedings was her absenteeism and other work-related issues, as had been evidenced by medical reports that had been received during that time. And so, according to them, their decision to terminate her employment followed due process. There were multiple show cause letters that had been issued between 2016 and 2020, and a hearing had been convened before the Disciplinary and Grievance Tier 2 Committee. Now, they also said that they provided her with a comprehensive medical cover and substantial support during her treatment, as had been outlined in her employment contract. The employer denied the allegation of malice, ill will, or lack of empathy, and asserted that the termination was lawful, fair, and procedurally sound. That is where we are. And now the court has to step in and look at this, because remember, when this case was brought to court, okay, the employee, through her mother, who was suing on her behalf, they referenced multiple medical reports that had been brought from a local counseling center. And there were reports from many doctors. There was Dr. Mark, Dr. Njuguna, Dr. Nganga, and all of them highlighted her mental health challenges and recommended support and reasonable accommodation. Okay? And according to the employee, she was saying that my employer failing to implement those recommendations and instead subjecting me to a disciplinary process without considering my mental health status, that violated her right to a fair hearing and what we'd call the tenets of natural justice. And because of that, she was seeking damages, of course, for wrongful termination, for discrimination on the grounds of mental disability, or to be reinstated to her position. And according to the employee, the employer was acting in bad faith by disregarding her medical condition, which had been consistently documented in medical reports from 2015 to 2022. And according to these medical reports, her struggles with bipolar mood disorder and schizoaffective disorder had been highlighted. And these are conditions that had impaired her reasoning and executive functions. Now, despite being aware of her condition, the employer, according to her, failed to implement reasonable accommodations as required under Section 15 of the Persons with Disabilities Act and Section 5 of the Employment Act. Now, what are some of the issues that the employee had with the employer? Number one, she was saying the fact that the employer refused to transfer her to a less stressful work environment or reduce her workload, it aggravated her mental health challenges. She also argued that this refusal, together with the disciplinary proceedings for absenteeism, which was directly linked to her condition, was indirect discrimination. Now, the employee also noted that the employer's decision to subject her to disciplinary proceedings without due consideration of her medical status, it violated the principle of fairness and natural justice. And of course, you know that the Supreme Court of Kenya has issued a decision where they said that the employer has a duty to investigate an employee's medical condition and provide reasonable accommodation before deciding to dismiss that employee. Okay. Now, the court, of course, begins by looking at this situation. And the court says that first, it was clear that she had been employed as a support staff in 2009 and was being paid 40,000 at the time. Okay. Now, her salary eventually gets to 84,000 before she resigned in 2015 due to personal challenges. Okay. But the employer intervened and referred her to a money counseling center for support. After several counseling sessions, it was then recommended that her resignation be rescinded and she is referred for psychiatric support. So she continued to receive medical care and counseling until 2018 when she was diagnosed with a schizoaffective disorder as a result of a motorcycle accident that had happened. Now, despite receiving regular treatment, she exhibited recurring absenteeism from work. And because of that, in 2020, the employer issued her with 2 show cause notices due to absenteeism, but her medical condition was considered before initiating disciplinary procedures. So she was terminated from employment in 2020, and the reason was gross misconduct, and they followed the proper disciplinary procedures. When we come back, we answer 3 questions that the court was asked. Number 1, how do you show that there's been discrimination in employment? Number 2, what is the lawfulness and the procedure of termination when dealing with someone who has mental health issues? And number 3, what is the lawfulness of the termination? Okay, was the termination in this case justified? Let's get some music, and then when we come back, we pick it up from there. Remember, talking about mental health in the workplace, and this is a good case that helps us to actually see some of the issues that could arise in the workplace as a result of mental health issues, and how employers are expected under the law to handle such cases.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Soul generation, no baby. Suda. I love you like the sunshine in the morning when I'm yawning. Like the scent of love, ukipika chai ya majani na mandazi. Such a lovely way to start my day. We getting high as I make you call my name. Tukisikiza ngoma za Bob Marley. Napenda vile una smile usisare. Nipatie zeze nikuimbie. I wrote a song na nataka usikie. If you let me sing for you. Darling, darling, I will sing your favorite song because I'm feeling lucky to have you dance along. Oh love, darling, darling, I will sing your favorite song because I'm feeling lucky to have you dance along to your favorite song, baby. The sun is out to bless your melanin. Tuingia town, I will show you around. Baby, slow down, let me show you to my world. Such a lovely day with my lady. Oh, many just love is what I'm feeling. I bless the day when you came my way, and I promise kuanita kuenzi. Baby, time imefika for 20, and I can see you vibe to my sensi. So won't you let me sing for you? Darling, darling, I will sing your favorite song because I'm feeling lucky to have you dance along. Oh love, darling, darling, I will sing your favorite song because I'm feeling lucky to have you dance my favorite song, my love. You're my favorite song, yeah. And I'm feeling lucky, so damn lucky. Yes, I'm feeling lucky to have you dance along to your favorite song, baby. Your favorite song. To your favorite song. Your favorite song, oh yeah, yeah. To your favorite song, oh yeah, yeah. Your favorite song. To your favorite song, my love. Your favorite song, oh yeah, yeah. To your favorite song.
Afraid to tell him how she feels, she silently whispers to herself, afraid, holding her breath. Maybe he might hear her. See, he doesn't feel the same way. Maybe at the band, Lady JD.
Nikaja kupenda na moyo wangu wote, binti huyu aliyenifanya ni mwote usiku na mchana, nikawa ni kama nimepagawa, sionekani popote. Nikaja kutenda mambo mengi magumu na mazito, ili mradi niwe naye, lakini sasa ninapotazama naona kwamba niliacha upweke. Nilikuwa na wingi wa mahaba, nilikupenda kinyama, kukutenda sikuwaza kama nikakaza, lakini huonekani mpaka sasa. Nilikuwa na wingi wa mahaba, nilikupenda kinyama, kukutenda sikuwaza kama nikakaza, lakini huonekani mpaka sasa. Rosella, 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 Rosella.
Ni kweli niliamua kuondoka, nikidhani nitapendwa, niendako hakuna. Mimi nilidhani nitakuta tofauti yoyote, mpaka sasa sijaona. Moyo waniuma nikikumbuka mambo mengi wewe ulonikosea. Najiuliza, je, ni kweli umebadilika au maumivu mimi nayarudia? Masikini nashindwa amua, unashindwa. Najiuliza, je, ni kweli umebadilika au maumivu mimi nayarudia? Masikini nashindwa amua, unashindwa.
Rosella, 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 Rosella.
Yani imekuwa siku mingi sana tujazungumza, SMS zangu urudishi, please call me zangu unijibu, simu ushiki. Na najua wezi kuwa ni simu ulipoteza juu social media, nimeona selfie zako na ile top fulani kali nikubaya adashiki. Kweli nikukumiss, nimekumiss tena sana, na najua umenimiss pia, unanilenga tu juu tuliko sana. Ego yako iko juu, ulikuwa demo maringo, lakini siteti, nilikupendaga tu hivyo hivyo. Yani tangu unitoke stress iko juu tu sana, sura imejaza tu wrinkles. Kila time najipata nimekasirikia tu vitu simple simple, hata jokes na mapeoples na catch wao wakishow tu dimples. Yani kosa walisema si kosa, kosa ni kurudia kosa, na najua ulikosa but huwezi kubali umekosea. Shakuzoea, ni sawa tu, nimekusamea. Una selfish but kuishi bila wewe machozi mimi siwezi. Daily kukula kwa hoteli, tunajua mimi ni mlezi. Malkia, smile tamu Christian shape ya mwezi, sipendi tukikosana, napenda tukichora 7 kwa 7 love at, tunajua nakupenda tuko sana. Pamoja tembea Dar, Kenya, Moshi, Arusha, tunajirusha rusha spending. Karibu Dolce Gabbana, mwanaume unajua ni kujikaza, shopping wa spaghetti crop. 9 months later baby shower na pampa, love imeshika rada. Ladha, fast born anakaribisha brother, twende nyumbani ni kuintroduce kwa mother. Mrasta ameshapata the other.
You remember them? Hut the Band. Of course, that's Rosella from Hut the Band. Fantastic song. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about mental health in the workplace. And one of the first things that the court was invited to address in this case is, number one, was the procedure that had been taken by the employer, was it the correct procedure? Now, according to the employer, they said that termination was lawful and followed proper procedures in line with natural justice, okay? They adhered to the disciplinary procedures, which had been outlined in their disciplinary and grievance policy. The employee was provided with a show cause letter, which we know is the first letter that you get in a disciplinary matter. She was given an opportunity to explain her absenteeism, but her repeated absence ultimately led her to termination due to gross misconduct, okay? Now, according to the court, the employer had complied with all procedural requirements and ensured that her medical condition was taken into consideration during the disciplinary process. The termination was therefore both lawful and procedural, okay? Now, the other key question that the court needed to answer is, was there discrimination here? And the discrimination here was being touted as a discrimination on the basis of mental disability, okay? Now, it's clear to note that the Constitution of Kenya very clearly, okay, prohibits discrimination on any grounds. The evidence before the court showed that the employer had provided the employee with all necessary medical care following her accident in 2015, including care for the residual effects of the accident, and there was no discrimination against her based on her mental health. Further, the claimant had not provided any evidence to show that she was treated differently from other employees in a similar situation. That is what the court was being invited to decide by the employer. Okay? Employer was basically saying, hey, this did not happen. The court begins by saying that having examined all the evidence and submissions of the parties, there was no doubt that this lady was an employee and that she had mental health related issues which were known to the employer. The employer had even admitted that they supported her and accorded her medical help. However, they stated that she had lucid moments at the time they issued her with a notice to show cause and also subjected her to a disciplinary hearing. Okay? The employee, of course, indeed agreed she had been subjected to a disciplinary hearing when she was sick, and therefore she was not given an opportunity to defend herself. Okay, so the first question then to ask is, this question of lucid moment, was she lucid? This is a person with mental health issues, right? Was she lucid enough at that point to actually undergo the disciplinary hearing? The court was of the view that there was no medical evidence to show that indeed she was in a fine state of mind to enable her to defend herself. And remember, Section 41 of the Employment Act states that an employer shall, before terminating the employment of an employee on the grounds of misconduct, poor performance, or physical incapacity, explain to that employee in a language that the employee understands the reason for which the employer is considering termination, and the employee shall be entitled to have another employee or a shop floor union representative of his choice present during this explanation. Now, the hearing that the court or that the law anticipates is that the employee has an opportunity to defend herself, and it therefore follows that their state of mind must be healthy in order to comprehend what was happening. That is a first key thing when dealing with a disciplinary issue for a person with a mental health challenge. You cannot participate in a hearing if your state of mind is not healthy. So the first thing that the employer has to do is to establish that they are in the proper state of mind, that they are healthy, and they're able to comprehend what is happening. In this case, the court was of the view that the employer knew the employee was unwell, but they still asked her to appear for a hearing, which in the court's view was inconsiderate because of her mental state. Okay? Now, what happens when an employee has a mental health issue? what does a court require to be done? In Kenya, we have what we would call the principle, perhaps, of reasonable accommodation. When you're dealing with employees who are unwell, okay, they deserve preferential treatment. So that you say, what you'd have done for an employee who is well, you then have to almost go an extra mile for an employee who's unwell. And this issue is actually a decision, it flows from a decision of the Supreme Court, okay, in which the Supreme Court said that the employer ought to have considered the report or even in the least conducted its own investigation as to the employee's medical condition, okay? Now, generally, where someone has a condition that needs to be confirmed or a condition that needs to be checked, or you need to, maybe they're coming with a physical or mental condition, okay? You have to conduct an inquiry, okay? You have to look at the employee's recovery. You have to look at whether any adjustments work for them. You have to look at whether accommodating the employee will be an unjustified hardship for the employer. So to justify incapacity, the employer has to investigate the extent of the incapacity or the injury and all the possible alternatives short of dismissal. So basically here the idea for employers is, before you terminate someone on a mental health issue, you actually have to show that you considered all possibilities, with dismissal being the last resort. You have to show the court, for instance, that accommodating this person would have been an undue burden on me, okay? And if the court tells me that I have to accommodate them, then it's going to be too expensive for me as the employer. Now, the court also was of the view that the employer had the responsibility to investigate the extent of the incapacity or the injury at the time, okay? So how do you do that? In this case, the court was of the view that the employer here was hell-bent in wanting to get rid of the, in this Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court was saying the employer was hell-bent in wanting to get rid of the employee from employment to an extent that they had to circumvent due process in a bid to find fault by conducting extra investigations, okay? In addition, there was no evidence that investigations were conducted on all other employees during that period. So, before you make the decision that we are terminating this person, as an employer, you are required to show these are the steps I've taken. Number one, is this individual lucid enough to undergo the disciplinary process? All right. Number two, is this disciplinary process the best alternative for us at this point in time? Or is there something else that could be done? Is there a way we could accommodate this employee? Is there some room we can give them? Can we move them to a different position? Can we support them in one way or the other? So that you show that terminating them is a matter of last resort. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what decision this court made eventually. And remember, this is a case of an employee who was fired by the Central Bank of Kenya. And she's come to court to say, I was discriminated against because I have a mental health issue. How did the court decide? We'll be right back. Let's get some music.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
never my intention to fall in love again. I remember it so clearly. Akiniona nikipanic. I was never made for parties. She went ahead and held my hand. She said, life's too short, better shoot your shot. Kahukore basi kunywa shot. Nakoko sober, then even better. Najua behutani hepa. She said, life's too short, so I'll shoot my shot. Yeah, I believe I was made for more. If I don't tell you, then I'll never know. I would rather tell you now.
I was looking for attention when she came in my direction. I wasn't looking for a good time, no. I was tired of the drama till she opened her mouth. She spoke to my soul. She broke all the walls I built inside. Oh, amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema.
Ended up talking about our observations, judging drunken people, vile tunapanga interventions. Machache nilisema, but I loved our conversation. Ilikuwa polite na bila ta pressure. Aura yake ni kama ya malaika. Nadhani sijatosheka, roho moyo mwili zote we imeenda.
Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Hey girl, don't run away with my heart. Don't make me go again from the start. Hey girl, I think I'm ready. When a man loves, anapenda kweli.
Maisha ni panda shuka, nimetembea mimi nimezunguka, na hii mto siwezi vuka bila we, nasinzia nikiwaza kila day.
Kwanza bila pesa na kuanga na pressure, juu siwezi kutesa, lakini madam asoli napigana, vita nimepigana, miezi zinashikana. Hey.
Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema. Amenifanya nipende tena. Vipi siwezi sema.
Kuna watu hatari wenye mapenzi zenye serikali, letu nalo linajua kali, penzi letu serikali, wajua na kupenda malaika.
Elani and the tragedy of Kenyan music, man. What happened to Elani? They just gave us some fire hits and disappeared. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to almost the end of our case discussion. We're talking about mental health and what the court says should be considered. And this is the outcome of this case. The court says that the employer proceeded to hear the employee casually and failed to help her alleviate her problem. Regardless of the fact that the employer had actually taken this employee for, medical attention and all that, the court held that when it came to that hearing, okay, they did not deal with her properly. They were very casual in their treatment. And also, the doctor had already issued reports indicating that the work she was doing made her situation worse. And therefore, it was a finding of the court that the employer treated the claimant or the employee in a discriminatory manner due to her mental capacity and should therefore compensate her accordingly. All right? Remember, even when you say, I accommodate this person, I accommodate the employee by allowing her attend medical treatment, but you have to show that as an employer, you've gone out of your way to actually accommodate this person. You've gone out of your way to do the things that need to be done. You've gone out of your way, perhaps if the medical report says, this person should be given lighter duties, have you actually helped that person to get those lighter duties? In this case, for this employee, it was clear she had a mental health condition. She unfortunately had an accident, which made the mental condition worse. The employer did not show the steps that they had taken to actually accommodate her. And because of that, she was awarded 12 months salary, okay? And she was also awarded 4 million shillings for discrimination on account of mental disability, for a total price of 5 million shillings, which was given to her for this. So what is the lesson here for employers? When you're dealing with employees who have mental health challenges, the first port of call is a doctor or a medical professional, someone who will be able to look at this person and say, based on my assessment, this is where I think this person is. And remember, medical opinion can also say, give them lighter duties or, retire them on medical grounds or make the following accommodations for them. Employees with mental health are protected employees because Kenya's constitution does not want to create a situation where any individual is discriminated against for any reason whatsoever. So as an employer, you have to realize that even when it's a question of dealing with an employee who has a mental health challenge, you have to show that you've gone out of your way to make this employee as comfortable as possible, all right? And beyond that, you have also tried to accommodate them, and terminating them is the last resort. Like, it's the last thing. You've tried everything else, nothing can work, and that is why you have looked at termination. But of course, as well, what are some of the things that we can do in the workplace to ensure that there are safe space for people with mental health challenges? When we come back, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we can do in our places of work to make them safe for people with mental health issues. And of course, it goes without saying that if you're listening to this and you have a mental health challenge, it's important to seek medical attention. All right? I know our culture will tell us many things. Umerogwa, so you go to a witch doctor, try and get sort that out for you, or you're taken to a specialist pastor, to pray for you. I think science is so advanced on this, and you should give it a chance. Go to a proper medical professional to be able to assess you. Part of the things that worked for this employee in this case was that they had actually sought medical treatment. And so as an employee, if you feel you're being discriminated against, remember we always say that in court, he who alleges must prove, right? You must have proof for the things that you're saying, which means that just like this employee, you should be able to say, I went to this doctor, these are the medical reports, this is what they recommended, this is what has been done, and all that. That then helps bolster your case, where especially you're alleging that you've been discriminated against, or the employer treated you in a manner that they should not have treated you. When you come back, tips on how to deal with colleagues who have mental health challenges, and even as well for management and business owners, how to treat employees who are undergoing mental health challenges. Let's get some music. It's now 6:43. Remember, this show runs between 5 and 7 p.m. So we only have a few minutes before the end of the show. But if it's your first time here, remember, I would love to know where you're listening in from. We'll be looking out in the comment section for that, and also on our socials at Power Radio, at James K. WaNjeri. This is Sheria Dive.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean that it's important to ensure that our workplaces are promoting good and proper mental health. Now, according to the World Health Organization, there was a report that was came out sometime in 2022, guidelines on mental health at work. And according to that report, it's estimated that 15% of working age adults have a mental disorder at any point in time. Now, can I shock you further? Depression and anxiety are estimated to cost the global economy $1 trillion each year. And this is driven predominantly by lost productivity. Now, people living with severe mental health conditions are largely excluded from work despite participation in economic activities being important for recovery. And that's basically the idea. Having a mental health issue does not mean that that person cannot contribute to society. Part of work is also a solution to dealing with mental health issues because you have something you're doing, there's productivity, there's an outcome. And so taking people away from work simply because of mental health issues does not actually help them. It makes the situation even more difficult for them. And so if you listen to this and you're an employer, you're an employee, you can look for that document. It's called Guidelines on Mental Health at Work. Very important document that had been issued by the World Health Organization. But let's look at what are some of the risks for mental health, okay? And in employment, these are called psychosocial risks, okay? These are risks to mental health which may be related to the job content or the work schedule, okay? Or specific characteristics of the workplace or opportunities for career development, among others. Now, according to the World Health Organization, some of the risks to mental health at work can include, number one, underuse of skills or being underskilled for work. Okay, have you ever worked in a place where you feel they're not using you properly? Or you're underskilled. The work you've been given, you do not have the proper skill for it. So what happens? It creates anguish and anxiety within you, and it creates the perfect conditions for mental health issues. The other thing as well is excessive workload or work pace, understaffing, you know. Lawyers know this, doctors know this. You have so much work. The boss does not want to hire more people. You are burdened. The hours are not yours anymore, which is why even the next point is long and social or inflexible hours. I've met people who go to work almost every single day, and I'm like, what? Work has become your life. There is also cases of unsafe or poor physical working conditions, all right? You can imagine if the physical working conditions are not ideal, then that, of course, affects your mental health. Then there's organizational culture that enables negative behaviors. Let's say behaviors like bullying. I remember there used to be a complaint about some workplaces where when interns come in, it's like people bet amongst each other who is going to be the first one to, get a certain intern, or you find workspaces where people like to bully each other or to demean each other, or a workplace where people are very negative towards each other. So that can be an organizational culture that enables negative behaviors. Of course, the other thing as well is limited support from colleagues or authoritarian supervision, okay? You're trying to get support, you're not getting the support you need. You're trying to ask for help, you're not getting the help. Then there's violence, harassment, or bullying. There's discrimination and exclusion. Unclear job role. What really is my job here? It's not clear. You're doing anything and everything, okay? Under or over promotion. Under promotion means you're not where you should be. Over promotion means you're in over your head. Now you're having to deal with things that are beyond you. They are too big for you. So how do you actually deal with that? The other thing as well is job insecurity. I remember during COVID, there are people who would go for months without being paid. And even today, there are people who have worked. I've worked for 5 months, I'm not being paid. For instance, in Kenya, this has affected many doctors where 5 months go without pay. Or in some cases, inadequate pay. Or poor investment in career development. I've worked in this place. I have not developed in my career. I've not been given the opportunity to learn more, to progress, And of course, there can also be conflicting home and work demands. You can imagine, for instance, you have maybe a family at home, they need you, but then you're also working all the time. So it creates stress in the home, but you're saying, but I'm working for the home. It creates a perfect scenario or perfect circumstances for conflict to arise. And of course, if you have conflicts at home, that affects you at work. If you have conflicts at work, that also affects you at home. So what are some of the things that can be done? One of the things is you have to prevent work-related mental health conditions by preventing the risks to mental health at work. The idea is we need to look at workspaces as places where, as much as possible, we are able to ensure that risks are eliminated or reduced, okay? We have to be able to protect and promote mental health at work. Because to work, you need your brain, you need your mind. So you can imagine if your mind is not okay, if your mind is, if you're unwell, if mentally you're not at 100%, then you cannot give 100% and there's lost productivity, right? And then you should also support workers with mental health conditions so that they can participate and thrive in work. The other day I saw someone say that the reason AI will never beat human beings when it comes to creating art is because AI has no depression. And I thought that was so funny. But it's also the reality. For instance, we know today that some of the most gifted people in the world have dealt with mental health issues. And there are those who will say that mental health issue is part of the reason why the person is so good at what they do. I don't know if that has been proved. I don't have the research for it. But we need to be able to support employees and workers and our co-workers, our colleagues who are dealing with mental health conditions. And of course, you have to create an enabling environment for change, okay? That as an organization able to say, we've identified this as a thing that maybe is plaguing our organization. And these are some of the steps that we are taking to ensure, that we can change that. Now, the World Health Organization also has a recommendation that if you want to protect mental health, number one, you need to train managers for mental health, okay? So why is this important? Because managers are able to recognize and respond to their subordinates experiencing emotional distress, okay? The people working under you, you're able to recognize and respond to the emotional distress. You're able to build interpersonal skills like open communication and active listening. And of course, you have to be a manager who someone can come and tell you, I am undergoing this, and you don't make it a point of, victimizing them or, making them lose their jobs or, making life difficult for them in the workplace, right? And training for managers also helps them to, it fosters better understanding of how job stresses affect mental health and can be managed. The reality is that there'll always be stress in the workplace. And so the idea is, how do we manage that stress better? How do you handle that stress in a way that does not compromise your mental health? Of course, you cannot train managers if you're not training workers. Workers must be trained in mental health literacy and awareness so that they can improve their knowledge of mental health. And this will reduce stigma against mental health conditions at work. Remember, I've told you, I grew up in a place where there's a guy who would go around picking papers and he was called a madman. And for many of us, the idea of mental health is madness. We never imagine that someone can have a mental health issue and they're just okay and they're working and they're doing their job well and they're thriving, okay? So part of what needs to be done in the workplace is to ensure that stigma is removed, is eliminated, so that workplaces can be as inclusive as possible. And of course, where you have individuals who are undergoing mental health conditions, you have to have interventions for them. You help them build skills to manage stress, to reduce mental health symptoms, including psychosocial interventions and opportunities for leisure-based physical activity. Of course, physical activity is very, very important when dealing with mental health issues. You need to get out. And one of the things that is always prescribed, especially for people dealing with, maybe anxiety or depression, is get out of the house. Just get out of the house. Because as long as you're within those four walls, it means that you feel trapped in that space. And getting out, part of it helps you. And of course, part of the challenge is you are telling someone to get out and they are also maybe dealing with, social anxiety. We need to support people who are dealing with mental health issues. So what are some of the reasonable accommodations that you can have at work? This may include giving individual workers flexible working hours, okay? Extra time to complete tasks. You modify assignments to reduce stress. You give them time off for health appointments or regular supportive meetings with supervisors. Then as well, you can give clinical support, okay, or clinical care to workers, to support workers in meaningfully returning to work after an absence. And you also support employment initiatives that help people with severe mental health conditions so that they get into paid work and maintain their time on work, and they're able to continue to provide mental health and vocational support. But most importantly, you must create an enabling environment for change. So if you have been a victim of discrimination on the basis of mental health at your workplace, remember what the court is telling us is that there is a path for you to actually go to court and say, this was done to me and I am a victim and I would like my rights to be asserted. And of course, remember that at all times, you have to file your employment claim within 3 years from the date of the termination of your employment. Otherwise, you'll be time barred. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? It's the top of the hour and we are done. Hey, it's sad, but I also am very grateful for you giving me your time, listening to us and being with us on this show. Thank you so much. I hope you've learned a thing or two. And remember, you could always give us your feedback in the comment section as well. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions, and we're going to be making time to just respond to those. I'm back here on Monday between 5 and 6, and I can't wait to see you. Tomorrow is Friday, so the weekend is here. Please have a safe weekend, and remember, find opportunities to distress, okay? Find opportunities to rest, and find opportunities to let your mind breathe, because you need it. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good evening.
Power Radio. Tune in and power up.
Tunapita kama moshi na kabla tuzame mchangani, kuna kushinda na kufeli. Inabidi ujijue tofauti ya mwalimu na mwanafunzi ni ujuzi na ujuaji. Oh, it's unbelievable that we make it this far. Undeniable, we see the promised land from afar, and it's so beautiful. No, they can't touch the fire, and you know it's not in vain. Steady tripping through the pain. Oh, yeah. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. On the midnight train. Siku zazidi badilika, mengi yazidi kunipita jama. Oh no, maji yalipozidi unga, hawakudhani tutafika. It's unbelievable that we made it this far. Undeniable to see the promised land from afar. So beautiful, they gon' know who we are. They keep on walking in the rain. Kuna blessings in the pain. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady, ready, ready, ready. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, Zion. It's on our road to Zion. Nothing will ever deny us. Whatever it takes, keep on rocking. Whatever it takes, keep on moving. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Yeah, 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 yeah. Rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion, to Zion, to Zion. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. To Zion, to Zion.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.